contrast, here's what research says does increase happiness. Beyond meeting basic needs, greater happiness comes from strong human relationships, a sense of control over one's life, meaningful work, good health, basic economic security, trust in others, engaging in pleasurable activities, and all this takes time. Developing strong human relationships take time, as does engaging with your community, seeking meaningful work, and doing things you love. However, Americans actually work more than any other nation on earth, and not surprisingly, consume more than any other nation on earth. This leaves us with decidedly less time for the things that actually make us happy, but provides a whole lot of fuel for Wall Street banks in the form of our increased consumption and debt. Working to pay for our current lifestyle also leaves us less time to engage in the political process, something we will need to do if we want to reclaim our democracy and free ourselves from Wall Street's control. By actively giving as little of your money to big Wall Street banks as possible, you will help weaken their hold on our elected officials and give average Americans a better chance at being heard. Let us each do our duty to the nation by respectfully reminding Congress for whom they actually work. A real game changer here would be the enactment of publicly financed political campaigns as a way to reduce Wall Street's influence on the political process. We must also demand that Congress resurrect and pass the Safe Banking Act. Whatever your concerns, put it on your calendar to regularly contact your elected officials. It could be the most important 10 minutes you spend each month. Why? Because we need our political leaders to be on board and create good policies that can guide us during this critical time. However, they will have difficulty passing legislation to help us as long as they are under the control of big money lobbyists and Wall Street banks. Congress needs our help. We can help shrink Wall Street down, make it easier for Congress to act, and improve our quality of life by taking the following steps. 1, stop feeding the banking beasts of Wall Street. 2, pay cash instead of credit whenever possible. 3, move your money out of big Wall Street banks into local community banks and credit unions. 4, consider moving some of your assets north. 5, write your congressmen and senators telling them you've moved your money and what it would take to bring your assets home, and be sure and CC the CEO of your former Wall Street bank. 6, pull some of your assets out of the stock market to protect them from being held hostage and use them to invest in a durable future. 7, reduce your dependence on Wall Street by reducing your consumption and becoming as self-sufficient in your lifestyle as possible. And 8, regularly call and write your elected officials to make your voices heard. Doing these things will not only help us reclaim control over our democracy, our economy, and our lives from Wall Street, they will also help shrink Wall Street banks so that Congress is better able to write laws that support the needs of average Americans and to prepare us for the future. If we the people lead, our nation's leaders will follow. The time to act is now. We are the ones we've been waiting for. Thank you. So I know some of these ideas were pretty controversial and extreme, but I would remind you that our nation and our democracy is under control of Wall Street, and they will not leave easily.
Okay, so Diana.
I don't think I'd be willing to take my money to Canada for various reasons, but there is the alternative, I think, perhaps, and I don't know without checking to see if you could go to an out-of-state bank, the State Bank of North Dakota. So why don't we check to see whether or not you can, as an out-of-state depositor, deposit money there, because that's outside of the banking system as we know it.
That's a good alternative, thank you.
Hi, I'm glad you could make it.
Thank you.
Up here to Bellingham from Seattle.
Twist. Same.
Close enough, right? Okay. I have 2 questions. I actually wrote these down. First of all, how can Congress regulate banking while depositing these toxic assets in their own bank accounts?
How can Congress...
How can Congress regulate banking while depositing the toxic assets in their own bank accounts?
Well, this is part of what I'm saying, if I'm understanding you correctly. I don't think we can count on Congress to act at all. I think they have been completely captured by Wall Street banks, both on a national level and internationally, increasingly internationally. If change is going to come to the system, it's going to have to come from the people. I think we are the only ones that can make it happen at this point.
I wrote it down. You know, when you talked about banking system in Canada, you were pulling my leg. You were just, that's just a threat to our banks, right? You're not saying that we should actually take our money north to a banking system that funds tar sands oil down to this country, and also destructive mining in Canada and abroad. You didn't mean that. That system is very, very rotten to the core.
I think it depends on where your values lie in this.
And my values lie with the human rights. And that's where I'll keep my money. Well, I'm just making sure this thing works. Is it okay? All right. It's just that I feel very passionate about where my money goes, and I don't think I can take my money to a place that doesn't respect the human rights of their own people. Thank you.
We're living in a system where we have a banking system that doesn't respect the human rights of average Americans. So it's like, what is the bigger enemy? And it is an ethical issue, no question about it. People need to look at this very carefully and decide what their priorities are and act. I don't think there are any really great good guys here or really great good options here. But we do have a few options to show Congress that we have power and we are willing to act on our own behalf. And part of the point of at least threatening to move our money or actively doing it is that we will get Congress's attention in that way, so that there is more pressure on them to act on our behalf than the pressure that is being put on them at this point to act on Wall Street's behalf. It is a point of pressure.
Yeah. And just to comment on that, last week when that Brown-Kaufman Safe Banking Act came up as an amendment, there were about 5 senators a day that were signing on to it. And if Dodd had waited maybe 3 more days, it probably would have passed. And Murray and Cantwell voted for it. It was to break up the banks and make them hold no more than 2% of GDP each. But it was brought up prematurely, specifically on Thursday night, to crush it. And that's what happened. So I'm not sure, when you say support the Safe Banking Act, is it going to be resurrected in another form now?
No, it's not yet, but we can demand that it
I see. Right.
And part of that is pressuring Congress by acting on our own behalf. So it's harder for them to say no than to say yes.
Go ahead.
And mine's not really a question, but I'd like to add one more bullet point to taking money away from Wall Street, is whenever you have an alternative, don't do business with a company that trades on Wall Street. Buy locally.
The economy of the future is very likely going to be a local economy, particularly after peak oil hits. We simply won't be able to import things anymore to the same extent.
Yeah.
I'd like to know when your book is coming out. And that's my first question. And my second question is, when you consider that all of our money throughout the entire world is made out of nothing but thin air,
absolutely,
then why are we even putting money in a bank, period? The banks can't be trusted, the government can't be trusted.
Well, and have you looked at the interest rate we're getting for that money that we're giving to the banks to gamble on Wall Street with? I know, it's like, I mean, I moved ours, well, first I moved ours over to a credit union, and the credit union lady said, you know, you're almost better just sticking it in your mattress.
That's my point exactly.
Okay. Look, I'm doing this for ethical reasons too, but yeah, the issue is this. They are trading with funny money up here, phantom wealth, but they are using our real assets to do that.
Exactly.
They're using the assets of average Americans, they're trading with them, and then they have proprietary information that allows them to know when it's coming down. They can actually control that, so they can pull it out and take the profits that come from our actual assets and leave us with the decline of those assets.
Precisely. And when is your book coming out?
Oh, I am shopping it to publishers, so I don't have a date yet.
Okay.
No. But I can let Diane know.